And now we can open to the Q&A session. So you will keep one mic and the other one will go to the audience. Regarding those who are connecting online, just write a message and let me know, and I will call you in. Any questions from the living room while we wait? Sorry, I have a quick one while you think of it. I see you're all, it just came to my mind, so it may sound pretty silly, but you are also calm. And yeah, this is the kind of vibe I get. And I'm usually not calm at all. You know me by now. I'm too hectic. And I was thinking, what about the personality? Because one thing is the your own art practice that you bring into the collective. And one thing are personality, character. How about that? Are they all, the other five, calm as you are, or?
Maybe on the surface. If you go a little bit deeper, there's a lot going on in Gwanghapdan, and you see that sometimes in the writing, right? Which is part of what we do with the scenes, is combine images and writing. You're in for a few surprises when you read the writing, and then you can really start, feeling the temperament of the different person. Who goes towards the dark humor, or who is kind of eccentric and unpredictable, or who's more philosophical, who's more poetic and such. So, but
when we first get together and thinking of having some collective, we just making a joke. Oh, we're outsider, so we say we call ourselves outsider, but actually Ukhyun is very insider. But anyway, we just call ourselves outsider and very calm, and nobody wants us, so we have to be together. That's the joke that we used to make. And we said, yeah, okay, we choose some photographers. How about her? How about him? And every time when we met her, we knew that she's the perfect fit for Gwanghapdan. I think it's not I can say that how do I say Will introverts very strongly. He's like a between. He's the most on the edge. But when we chose, I see that personality is there. That became the personality of Gwanghapdan.
And you just used the word when you said when we choose, right? Is it by invitation, or someone can just show up and say, hi, I would love to be part of your collective, and then is it both? Is it
Interview and
maybe? Now, how does it work?
I still don't know how it's it's like half invited and half being asked. It's very subtle. Nobody really officially asked, but became a member. That kind of
So some of our members were friends before we create this group, but some of them we invite them to be our zines as an artist or as an editor, and then we know that we really get along together, so that we ask them to join to the group.
we kind of feel that, oh, how about we asking him to join, this designer or, her. And then we just knew that we were all thinking already, yeah, of course. Then that person was waiting. Did you? Did you?
I started driving Haeryong to Gwanghapdan events, knowing that maybe someday I would be invited. If I just showed my face often enough, sure enough, it happened.
So I think at some point for the meeting, sometimes we have we have to use the one of the members' studio or the museum, the meeting room. But if we have to make the meeting at the cafe, I think we reached to the maximum numbers. It's hard to have a meeting with member of 9. So I think we're good right now.
Hi, I'm Laura. Thank you so much for this talk. I'm really interested about the dynamics of your personal work with the collective work. Like, I want to know, obviously, I know I get the benefits and what you get from it, but is there any conflict that arises for you sometimes? Like, is there an interference sometimes between your personal work and the work of the collective? You want to do a solo show somewhere, but the collective needs you, or I'm interested in that.
I'll try to answer that. According to my experience, at least, Hideon has a show opening on Saturday, and we were installing the last couple of days, and Kosan was a big help that way.
Okay,
So, it's that's one of the really big benefits, I think, of being in a collective is if you have to do an edit at the last moment and you need to call up a couple of people and have extra eyes on it, or if you are starting on a project and you want feedback, but not public feedback, private feedback, then I think we stand by each other in our community of artists, and we're very loyal to each other. On the other hand, we all have different visions and temperaments, and that's a learning curve for some of us. How to work in an ensemble, um, but it's exciting too. So when I was welcomed as a new member, the same first meeting that I attended, I was asked to be the editor for the scene. And I thought to myself, well, what if I propose something that I'm exploring, that I'm really just fascinated by that? And so I suggested blindness. And having the opportunity to just see the of all the members in the collective to the same theme that I was really interested in, really preoccupied with, fascinated by it. That was wonderful for me personally. And I learned from everybody. Every single response was interesting. And then it became this major project for myself. And I had to come to the collective and say, hey, that theme that I introduced for the scene, actually, it's becoming a thing on its own. And I just wanted to give everybody a heads up, at least that what started as a collective inquiry was continuing to grow on its own, autonomously, separate from the collective. And so that's how I think.
So maybe it's even 2 questions. So you were saying, and I could feel, I would feel the same probably, that sometimes you have to interrupt your work and then you focus on your collective work, and sometimes it's stressful. So what is the proportion in how much time can you spend on your personal work and how much time on the collective work?
So without saying, we are giving we're trying to not give a pressure on other members when they have other work. But for instance, when we had an exhibition, there's always 1 or 2 person who is in charge of. Hagyung was in charge of the exhibition because she made a connection with the galleries, and so we know that it's her work and she knows. So she spent a lot of time for preparation and during and after. And the next event was we got the beautiful space in Seongbuk-dong, Gwanghapdan. There was Mingyu, the designer, who got that granted from the city. So he applied. He did the application, and then he was in charge of that space. So those events, he spent a lot more time than other members, and then other members, whoever are available, comes to do it together. While that was up, Jaime and I were very busy for the new business, so we couldn't participate. But still, Gwanghapdan was running just fine. So the book fair too. So there are always some like a members who is in charge of that event more than others. So it's moving like that, very very casually, naturally. Uh, I really I really appreciate that because otherwise we can't do every event in the same way nonstop. Then then it wouldn't be something that we would like to keep.
Yeah, I understand. So it's flexible.
Very, yeah.
And yeah, because I know from myself, when you have exhibitions, you're very tied up in all these administrative things, and there is no time for creativity or anything. And my other question would be, is that when you consider members, so if I understand that correctly, the first priority is personality, is that correct? Or does the work of the person has to fit in your concept as well?
I think again, we know the personality, the founder, the very first members, and then we know the work, and then when we talk about, oh, how about her, and then we also know what kind of person they are, and then her work. I think we, without saying, we agreed on that we like that work. I don't think we can accept the photographer that produced the work that we would enjoy.
No, I understand enjoying. I mean, yes, I think, but sometimes you enjoy some work that is completely different from what you are doing. So would you see that as a complementary work that you would take on because you like it? Or would you say, okay, it doesn't really fit in our theme, or although we like it?
I mean, that's a really interesting question that I think we're all kind of like just now trying to grapple with, and it goes to who we are as a collective, and I don't think we have that much self-knowledge to answer your question at this point because it's still a very young collective. Um, I think it's a more casual sort of approach that we have. It's who we feel good spending time with and who we respect artistically and who will bring something of value to the mix, right? Um, it's a tough balancing act. Um, we all have different pressures and commitments and obligations, and still, you have to find somehow uh, the generosity of time. If you're going to join a collective, have to be generous with your time. There's no other way. So you're going to have to make sacrifices along the way. And like Hirion and I, this is rare that we're sitting in the same event together because we have young kids. We have twin boys who are 6. Somebody has to take care of the kids. So it's either you get her or you get me, but very rarely do you get both of us.
So we were really honored today to have you both.
Anything for Raffaella.
Thank you. Okay, thanks a lot. There was a question? No? Yes? Okay.
Hi, my name is Molly. So my question was regarding your process and the development of the collective and the execution of the work, for example, with the zine. So you had mentioned that there are themes that are developed. So I wanted to understand, are the themes developed collectively and all at once, potentially for the year? And then when you're working on the zine, because it is a collective, is there an equal split between the 9 of you? Like we each contribute 5 pages of whatever we want. How is the work divided so that there's a sense of harmony in the team based on your contributions? Is one saying, I'm going to put in 5 photos and write 5 poems? Like, how is the work equally divided in terms of your process and contribution to the actual art that's created through the collective?
It is not equally. We give so as you know, we switch the roles each month as each editor. An editor has absolute power. He or she decides what to put in, how many, on how many pages. And we members, we are all okay with this. So we sometimes we hand in like 10 images and 10 texts, even though there's only one text within the zine, we are totally fine with that. And I kind of liked that because when you go to the group exhibitions in the museum, I kind of hate that, okay, this space is for A artist, this space is for B artist. It is kind of not fun. And I would like to make whole exhibition as a one, even though there are so many artists participating. I would like to see that happening say in the zine. So it's when we become the editor, like we become a chef, and we kind of use all the foods. It's metaphor, like text and images, and the chef decides like what to cook. Like I can use only one onion, one garlic. It's fine. So, and that's the thing that we really enjoy because we don't expect there's a something there's a surprise, out of our expectation as a result.
So it sounds like what you're saying is this is also part of the fun, is kind of surrendering to the process, and this casual approach that you have is actually seen in the real creation of the zine at the end. And the process in itself of the editor curating is part of the fun and the surprise and delight for you as artists.
That's right.
Thank you. By the way, there is a zine going around if you want to take a look. Any other question here or from the living room? The virtual one, please. Gaia.
Hello. May I ask you, it's very interesting, the Yoba Collective, but I have to say I'm curious to know a little bit what you each of you, like your practice. What is it like, very linked to the image, or about, very linked to the photographic dimension? I would be I'm curious about that. Would it be possible just to spend a couple of words about that?
I'll tell you what people know me best for is long-term documentary projects. So spending typically 2 or 3 years doing one project with a certain I'm attracted to that are far from the mainstream, that play by their own rules, who, have a different way of living. That's best known for. My current project is idea of blindness, not as a physical ailment, but as cultural. I'm doing that, and it's very different from what I usually do, because after 3 years of being in Korea and relying on my New York projects to keep me going, I decided finally I was ready to make work in Korea. And Gwanghapdan was a big part of that story, as I mentioned before. And the scene is going around somewhere in the back, the blindness scene. That was the beginning of something for me. And I felt like, okay, I'm no longer alone here. I have community. I can feel the ground under my feet for once. And so I started making this work. And it's been like 6 months right now that I'm exploring this idea of every photograph being a question.
I make work, very personal work, the emotions that I have, or um, I'm curious about memories or the dialogues, or things that are happening inside of me. But my subject change it depending on the project. So sometimes it's a portrait, sometimes it's a self-portrait, or sometimes still lifes, or sometimes landscape. So those subject changes, but it's visualizing what's inside of me. So the exhibition right now is about the hometown, um, physical or psychological hometown that uh, I had in mind. So it's the photograph of places in Seoul and also places in New York, mixed. And what I'm going to have in the Koon Photography Museum in December is the still lifes of the things that came to my life through these two boys. So I started with the real still lives of new things, but then it became the portrait. The portrait could be like a still lives, and the landscape. So it expanded. So combine of all of those became the new project. So
I mostly make conceptual documentary works, included myself. So when I was in Europe, I made a series of work with my own hair in the art institutions as a performance documentary work, and now I'm working on new project which will be published presented in December. It's about my family's history and the Korean history, the mixture of Korean history. So I lived quite a long time in Europe. So when I see Korean society, it's very deep conflicts in generation to generation and gender, and so that problem I wanted to reflect in my own family history. So my great grandfather was independent activist in Japanese colonial, and my father is very politically conservative now, and I'm different position. So I wanted to this generation just yeah, reflect.
My interest getting shifted from like very, very personal, like inner self, to like sharing and acceptance. So if I tell my past exhibition happened a few months ago, I've been exchanging letters with a curator for a year. I've been exchanging over 40 letters. And we've been talking about just not only the art, but life in general, but the wisdoms that I can, I face, I confront every day. And I made a installation in the gallery space. Like one part of the gallery is artist's studio, the other part is become a curator's office. So it become a like theoretical settings, and in the middle, I put 12 elements, which represent the 12 keywords from our letters. And we had a performance every week. The exhibition happened for 4 weeks, and we did a 4 performance. We wrote new letter every week, and we read the letter in front of the audience in a small group, and we talked about life and art in general. And I really liked it. Raffaella visited my show, and yeah, that, and I would like to, yeah, I really love to expand my boundary from like photography only to like performance and writings, letters. Yeah. And I would like to, yeah, it is really related to the activity in Gwanghapdan too.
I read one that is coming from Beijing. The question is, what each of you like to do for fun to get inspired? For example, when or if art making starts to feel like work more than playing, how do you re-energize and refresh to keep art making fun?
I go to see my niece. She's 5 years old, and every week I am surprised about improved her improvements in like vocabulary. It gives me so much inspiration, new approach to the word and images.
It's only possible because it's a niece. Yeah, right. You want to get double inspiration? Physical too, physical inspiration. Last year we went to Gwangju last year, right? We visited the Gwangju biennial together. It was not for any event or for work. It was a lot of fun. It was a little trip. Still art. We can see art and we can talk about art, but we can also eat delicious food, and we are with the friends that we're comfortable with. That freshened a lot. I like that kind of trip together.
I ride a bike. Uh, that's what it's also been my way of getting to know this city, my new hometown, and other areas of the country as well. Um, so I think after COVID and that staying at home for 2 years, that almost like broke me physically and psychologically and spiritually. Because I like to be out in the world, and New York is not a city where you want to spend time in your apartment. You live in the city, you sleep in your apartment. That's the balance of it. And then we're like in this small apartment day after day for month after month. And so I came to Korea and I got myself a bike, and that's been amazing, just on every level. What I like to do for fun, other than that, and I love to take walks and go to exhibitions and stop for a drink somewhere. It's few and far between with the kids. But you make your fun when you can, and work should also be rewarding, not just a burden. I think if the practice itself feels like a burden, then it's time to move on and do something else. That's just my opinion. But I mean, you want to enjoy it, even if it's stressful or the hours are long. You want to enjoy going out and making the work. You want to enjoy installing the show. You want to enjoy printing. All of that's potentially, fun and rewarding too.
Actually, I'm the one who's very stressed now with the new project. So I think I should walk a lot and get some sunshine, maybe. Yeah, I'm going time to time gym.
Thank you. Leila?
Hi,
Good.
just a quick question. How many members do you have right now in the collective? And did you think to set the max, or are you interested to see it growing as much as it can?
Now we are 9 total, 7 photographer, 1 curator, 1 graphic designer / monk. um, we love to, make this our group grow even bigger, but as a collective, we have to communicate like intimately and responsibly. So we are considering expanding more than 9s now. We don't set any like specific number for limit, but 9 is really good number that communicate through the like text messages and phone. Yeah.
Any other question? Otherwise, I think the time is right. Okay, class dismissed. Here. Thank you very much. Thank you for this. Stay with me as usual. I come back here.